If you want to self-publish a nonfiction book that builds your brand's authority, leads to authentic growth for both you and your clients, and earns you extra income, then the Book Brand Podcast is for you. At Book Brand, we believe there's no better way to get your message out to the world and reach new clients than with a book that builds your brand. We're here to help you go from idea to author by showing you how to create and market your book, even if you don't consider yourself a writer. Start today with our free gift to you, an on-demand masterclass that shows you how to self-publish a lead-generating book in under 30 days. You can find the free masterclass at bookbrand.xyz. Now, here's your host, who is a #1 selling author on Amazon and has over a decade in marketing experience helping brands from influencers to multi-million-dollar companies reach new clients. Shay Patrick.
Hello and welcome to the Book Brand Podcast. I am your host, Shay Patrick, and I cannot begin to tell you how grateful I am to be creating this podcast. I absolutely love nonfiction books. I've written a couple. I've got more in the pipeline. I love the writing process. I love reading books, and I love using them to grow my business and to teach other people how to grow their business. So this first season is all about self-publishing your nonfiction book. In future seasons, we're going to interview some authors, and we're going to really talk about the process and get down to specifics in the whole entire book writing process. But this first season is all going to be about creating your book and how we use what I call as a SWIFT method to make that happen. And the SWIFT method is pretty much a process that I've created that is specifically for nonfiction books. This isn't for fiction books. This isn't self-publishing historical books. It is very much about building a brand with this process. And we'll get to the SWIFT method a little bit further in this podcast episode. And the future podcasts of the first season are really going to break down each one very specifically and how it pertains to your book. But today we're going to talk more about self-publishing nonfiction books as a whole. We're going to talk a little bit about me just so you understand who I am, where I come from. And then we're going to talk about the next steps you could take to really get your book up and running. First, let's talk about the 3 top benefits of self-publishing a nonfiction book. The #1 benefit, I know people think, it's about money. You can make a bunch of money by writing books. That's just not the reality. My first couple books, they did not make a ton of money. If you really want to make money self-publishing, you're going to have to write more than one book, unless you're one of the lucky few that somehow gets this amazing concept done, and you could just kind of use that book idea to skyrocket you to success. More than likely, though, there's probably a 99% chance that that's not going to happen. I'd rather be honest with you at the very beginning. I don't want to try to sell you some whole entire grand scheme of, oh my goodness, you self-publish a book, you're going to be incredibly wealthy. That's really not the truth. But what a book can do for you is it could create instant authority. What I mean by that is, as soon as you create a book, you really separate yourself from the other freelancers out there, from the other entrepreneurs out there, from the other service providers, the other financial coaches, health coaches. You're going to really create yourself and help your brand stand out by using a book and using it as a business card. Because think about how much you could use that book to repurpose on social media, to use that book to create a podcast, to use that book to land podcast interviews or stage interviews, and also to use that book to help you land bigger and better clients, which is what I did, by the way. So my book, I was not making a ton of money on Amazon with my book. What's cool is you will see some sales come in. I've had people buy my book from Germany, from across the United States and other countries. That's a really cool thing to be able to do, is when you create that outreach and you can see people buying your book. It's such a fun thing, and I really hope you get a chance to experience that. So you do get a little bit of extra income from the passive side, but not a ton. You could run some ads to your book, which will help it grow, but that's a whole entire different thing. I just want to concentrate on getting your book done for season 1. But where the real earnings took place with my books was you use that book as not only your business calling card. I've had a couple of clients, multi-million-dollar clients that I've landed contracts with, because they want to see, okay, let me see your portfolio, send me your stuff. You send them that, and you also say, oh, hey, by the way, I got this book out there. That really pivots you. That really shows you know your subject. You know what you're talking about. That adds extra layer to your resume that most people do not have. And that is just such an easy thing to do. And creating a book is easier than you think. It still takes some work, but it's easier than you think. So the first key benefit of a nonfiction book is I really want to say is it creates this instant authority. And the second thing I'm going to say is it does create that extra income, which I was just talking about, which you do get a little bit of passive income from hosting your book on different sites. But it's when you use that book to leverage it to land higher paying clients and better clients, that's really going to help you. And another thing to think about too is you get this level of authentic growth. This is the third thing. Your brand is really an extension of who you are. And a book is going to help you clarify what you have to offer to the world. Now think about this for a minute. How many influencers do you know or do you follow that have a book? Tony Robbins, Brene Brown, Gary Vaynerchuk, Jack Canfield, Oprah, Seth Godin, the list goes on. And they all have books. They either have a book, they have multiple books, and they have that because it helps them expand their brand. And this is why you need to create a book. Creating the book is going to allow you to really tap into other forms of leads as well. Meaning if you're posted on social media, on LinkedIn, and you're trying to get clients from that, if you're trying to expand your brand on those platforms, that's good enough. But most people, when they're on Instagram, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook, they're just scrolling passively, seeing what's going on. They might see your book. Okay, cool, like, oh, maybe comment, maybe I'll forward this to a friend. It's more of a passive platform. They're not actively looking to buy things. When people go onto Amazon, they are actively there to find a solution to their problem. So if you have a book, say on finance, on how to help people, there's a certain way that you found people, how to help people to manage money or marketing. You have a specific marketing technique you use. You could put that up there on Amazon and look at Amazon as another social platform, a paid platform, a platform that's going to pay you for leads, for hot leads, for you to be able to access hot leads. Because when people go to Amazon, they're looking for a solution to a problem they have. When people go to Facebook, they're just kind of browsing. They're chatting about politics, about this different community, health, or whatever it is. They might not be as active as someone who's on Amazon or iBooks or the other platforms like Barnes & Nobles. Those people are active readers. They're actively looking to buy your book. And so once they buy your book, that really pulls them into your world. And creating a book that really helps your brand expand and get them into the world is what this is all about. Because Book Brand is about creating nonfiction books. It's about self-publishing nonfiction books. And this is really going to separate you from the competition out there. So what makes a Book Brand different from other self-publishing courses and self-publishing podcasts out there is it is, like I mentioned, all geared towards nonfiction. And one of the things that's really key that I created was called the SWIFT method. The SWIFT method is an easy way for you to be able to create your book. And the SWIFT method breaks down to the first part being the S, which is the story-based solution. Having a story-based solution is one of the keys to getting people to really hook into your story and to buy what you're presenting. Think about it this way. When someone's gossiping about another person, which I'm not a big fan of gossip, but people do it. It's part of our human nature. We often say, oh, who's that? Who's so-and-so across the room? What's their story? Or when someone you meet at a networking event, they say, hey, so how did you get here? Or even think about this. Oftentimes when you ask, if you have your spouse and so forth, when you meet other couples, you often ask the question, so where'd you guys meet? Which is basically they're saying, what's your story? So when you create a nonfiction book, oftentimes people are going to say, what is your story? What makes you unique from the other finance books out there, from the other marketing books out there, from the other health books out there? So the story-based solution is the first thing you really want to tackle because that's going to separate you from the other books and make you unique to others out there with what you have to offer. The second part of the SWIFT method, W, the who and the why. Who are you and why are you writing this book? And also, who is your key audience and why should they read your book? That really starts to tackle another key aspect of getting your book done in a short time frame. Because once you answer that, then you could really hone in on who you're writing your book for, which brings us to the next part, which is the I of the SWIFT method, intentional interest. Intentional interest really lays out your chapter titles. It lays out the outline of your book. When you have intentional interest, and what I mean by that is you're creating chapter titles in this part of the SWIFT method. You're creating and you're working off your whole entire storyline to give people more specifics about what they're going to get from your book. So that way they're intentionally interested in what you have to say. And they want to get that book so they can get that information. So you really want to be able to hold their interest. And you do this in a very intentional way by creating chapter titles that people will be able to see, before they purchase your book, but that really creates the difference between them buying your book or them passing on your book. The F part stands for focus and flow. When you really reach that flow state, you could become incredibly productive. Whether you want to type the words, whether you want to write by hand and then speak them into your phone and have them translated, transcribed, or if you just want to speak directly into your phone and have that transcribed, or your computer, have that transcribed, upload audio, send it to a different service like Rev that'll transcribe your whole entire book that way. So it's about finding that focus and flow. And this tends to be the biggest part of the self-publishing process, of the writing process really, is when you get in that flow state. But you do that by creating ways to get you focused, because when you're focused, flow state follows. And writing becomes less painful when you're in a flow state. When you're not in that flow state, my goodness, writing could just seem like it drags on and it can be painful. So one of the things I do is I help people find a skill set, an ability to tap into that flow state. So self-publishing becomes much easier than it needs to be. And the T of the SWIFT method is tactical teamwork. Really ties into the marketing aspect. A lot of the self-publishing courses, they really cover, most of them are for fiction books. A few do cover a little bit of nonfiction, but also not many go into the whole entire marketing aspect. I'll tell you right now, it is more difficult to market your book than it is to write it. And that's why you want to have a whole entire tactical team there to support you. And it doesn't have to be a big team. It could be a couple of people. It could just be yourself and your family. But you really want to create this sort of tactical teamwork that's going to allow you to expand and launch your brand in a way that's easier on you than it would be. And we give you a process to be able to do that with the SWIFT method. And even with the community, when you join this community at Book Brand, you're going to see it's all about working with one another, networking with one another to help you guys build each of your brands together as a team. And everybody will tell you, your net worth is your network. And the more you build your network, the more opportunities you're going to create for yourself. So that's what's great about this community at Book Brand as well, too, is we're a really supportive community that wants to help each other elevate our brands. So in future podcasts of the first season, we are going to dive into each one of these 5 aspects of the SWIFT method. We're going to really cover on the next podcast the story-based solution. Then the following podcast, the who and the why, then the intentional interest, then the focus and flow, then the tactical teamwork. And then the 7th episode of season 1 is we're going to really wrap it up and cover what's going to be happening next on the 2nd season. But before I go further, I just want you to tap into this network, and I want you to share this podcast. I want you to like it. I want you to follow us on social media, because when you do, it's going to tell me that, all right, this message is resonating. There's people out there that want this, that are going to appreciate this, because that's going to keep me going, recording more podcasts after the first season and the 2nd season. But I just need to know that you guys are on board. You guys like this. And you guys are like, hey, let's hear some more. Let's comment. Let's say something positive on the iTunes review sites or whatever sites, wherever you're listening to this. Make sure you subscribe, because that's going to tell me, that's going to give me feedback. Share this. That's going to give me feedback that you want to hear more. And so if you're ready to self-publish a nonfiction book, we do have a pretty cool idea to author challenge that you can check out more on the website, bookbrand.xyz. Once again, bookbrand.xyz. And we got some free resources that you could check out until the next episode, which is on our website. We have a little course on how to write your lead generating book in under 30 days. That's a cool little masterclass we have up there you could check out for free. Less than an hour. And you could have a whole entire concept and strategy laid out for you about how to write your book in the next 30 days. And that's over at our website that I just mentioned, bookbrand.xyz. And definitely jump on our subscription list. On our email subscription list, you'll get some really nice tools and techniques and tactics and strategies to help you write. Now, to clarify, who is Book Brand for? Book Brand is perfect for coaches and consultants who want more leads. Coaches, you could be a health coach, a financial coach, a mindset coach, a relationships coach or consultant. If you're a freelancer, this is a great way for you to stand apart. If you're a social media manager, you want to get more clients, creating a book is going to help you do that, because when you create your unique story, it's going to help people connect with you and want to resonate and work with you. This is also great for influencers who want to expand and boost their brand's reach. And this is great for service-based businesses. If you're a financial advisor, if you're a CPA, bookkeeper, whatever it may be, if you want to create a great marketing funnel, this is also an amazing way to do that. A little bit about myself. I'm Shay Patrick, as I mentioned earlier at the very beginning. I've spent over a decade helping brands market their products and services. And self-publishing is one of the greatest ways that I've found to really break myself apart and to increase my income and to generate leads and higher paying clients. I earned an MBA in finance, so I'm really strategy-based, numbers-based. And I'm very straightforward when it comes to this approach because I try to find things and break them down into the simplest form. My first book was a Christian devotional book called 40 Days of Freedom. My second book, How to Get Recommended by Famous People, is all about influencer marketing. So when I create a book brand, a lot of people out there have self-publishing books and they've written books on how to self-publish a book, and that's the only book they have. My first couple of books, nothing to do with self-publishing whatsoever. My first couple of books was a Christian devotional book. My second one was all about how to leverage influencers to grow your brand. And I co-wrote that book. So I've experience writing on my own. I also have experience on working with other writers, which gives me some key insight that a lot of authors out there don't have. So if you ever want to pair up and write a book with someone, I could help guide you through that process on the pitfalls, on what to do and what not to do. Because that could be tricky as well. You want to make sure that you are co-writing a book with someone that you really get along with, you share the same values with. My experience co-writing has been amazing. I've heard nightmare stories of other people when they work together with some other people. It turns out to be a disaster. So my second book, which is about influencer marketing, How to Get Recommended by Famous People, was the #1 seller on Amazon. It's a great book. It's an amazing book on influencer marketing, but I'm not going to pitch that book. I just want to give you some proof here about why I'm qualified to really lead you and talk about this whole entire book writing process. So let's see. Anything else I want to talk about myself before I get back to you? No, I think that's pretty good. We'll learn more as we go along and so forth. I want to keep the episodes short. I know every single season I want to make sure it's less than 30 minutes. I want to keep it between that 15, 30 minute kind of mark. And yeah, that's all I got for today. So thank you for joining us on this first episode. You got a little bit of taste of what Book Brand is about, which, to sum up, it is for self-publishing a nonfiction book. If you want to do a fiction book, there's other podcasts out there for it. Check it out. But if you want to grow your brand, reach more people, then this podcast is for you. This Book Brand community is just specifically for you. I also talked about where you can get some more resources, where you can get a free masterclass over at bookbrand.xyz, www.bookbrand.xyz. Check us out over there. Wow, a little bit too much coffee today. Coffee is often a writer's friend. So is wine if you write in the evening. I'm not saying to drink alcoholic beverages, but once in a while it is nice. But coffee is definitely often a writer's best friend. Over on the website, there's some great blog posts we have. Make sure you follow us on social media. Free resources. We also have a resource page over on our website that tells you what tools we use to really hone in our keywords when it comes to marketing, when it comes to what you want to use to edit, software to edit, what you can use for marketing your book, social media, book covers, our whole entire process of what website we use, what email marketing service we use. That's all on our website on the resources page at the very bottom. So that's some cool stuff for you to check out as well. So you can kind of get an idea of what self-publishing is all about. Because I know some of you listening to this, you're probably thinking, I am ready to dive in and write a book, which you can join the 30-day challenge. But if you're not, there's plenty of stuff on the website that you can kind of check out and be like, hey, I'm thinking about writing a book, but I'm not quite sure yet. And I'm not going to push you one way or another. I think it's really a personal decision because it does take a little bit of work to self-publish, but it is so worth it. Because once you have a self-published book, it's something you have for years, for the rest of your life that you could talk about, that you have as a digital marketing asset, and you could get it printed. You could send it to people. It is just such an amazing thing that you can do within a month. If it takes you longer, it takes you longer. Don't put a time limit on it, but you could generally have a pretty good lead generating book within a month. And one little myth I want to throw out there too is a lot of people, not myth, but I think one mindset aspect that people have is a book needs to be some whole entire 200-300 page drawn out book. It doesn't have to be. You could just create yourself a nice 100-page book, 70-page book. A lot of these books, a lot of the best sellers out there right now are less than 100 pages. There's some amazing content out there. And I think that's what people are hungry for. They're hungry for shorter, consumable content that they could really get something from, benefit from right away, that they don't have to spend a lot of time on. So right now is actually one of the best times in history to write a book because there's this strong demand for actionable books that could really give people valuable content that they could apply right away instead of spending weeks reading or shifting through a book. This allows you to kind of dive into a book right away, get the meat, which makes it easier for you to self-publish because you know that you don't have to write some drawn-out book. You could be very to the point, very specific, and write yourself a nice short book. If you want to write a longer book, you can do that too. But I think the main thing when it comes to writing books is you want to be able to hold people's interest, which goes back to the intentional interest of the Swift method. All right, that's about it. So thank you very much for checking out the first episode. Remember, comment, like, leave some stars. It'll tell me that, hey, this is getting some traction here and I want to hear some more. So I'll keep on recording more. I'll keep on getting some great content out there. I gave you a little taste of the Swift method. On the rest of this season, we're going to talk about how we could use that to leverage to write your book. Until next episode, follow us on social, check out the website, connect with us over on our email list, and we'll chat then.
Thank you for listening. Congratulations on your upcoming self-published book. Begin right away with our free on-demand masterclass on how to self-publish a lead-generating book in under 30 days. You can find it at bookbrand.xyz. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you can stay current on the latest self-publishing and marketing strategies designed to get your nonfiction book in the hands of new readers. Until the next episode, keep writing.